Es war das Jahr des Feuers.
Das Jahr der Zerstörung.
Das Jahr, in dem wir zurückeroberten, was uns gehörte.
Es war das Jahr der Wiedergeburt.
Das Jahr großer Trauer.
Es war das Jahr der Schmerz.
Und das Jahr der Freude.
Es war ein neues Zeitalter.
Es war das Ende der Geschichte.
Das Jahr, in dem sich alles veränderte.
Das Jahr 2261.
Ort der Handlung Babylon 5.
It was the year of fire.
The year of destruction.
The year we took back what was ours.
It was the year of rebirth.
The year of great sadness.
The year of pain.
And the year of joy.
It was a new age. It was the end of history.
It was the year everything changed.
The year is 2261. The place, Babylon 5.
Starting right now, we fight back, and we fight back hard.
At some point in your life, you come to a stage where you have to say this far and no more. Our characters in Babylon 5 have been pushed against the wall again and again and again, where they hit the stage where they say, we won't be pushed back anymore. We're going to fight, and we're not going to give up. No surrender and no retreat. The journey of John Sheridan is the classic hero's journey. The hero often ends up going into darkness, dying, being reborn, and coming back in a newer and better form.
One of my favorite lines, was it Sheridan? We thought you were dead. And I say, I was, but I'm feeling much better now.
Sheridan was in a very vulnerable position, having died, basically. And Lorien became a mentor to his character.
It's easy to find something worth dying for. Do you have anything worth living for?
He had to go to places that we don't often think of a heroic character going, in terms of being vulnerable, in terms of expressing doubts and not knowing what's going to happen.
Shadows took the bait. There's no turning back now.
For me, the point where all of our stories came together and interwove and paid off finally was year 4.
We were ready to do a huge action season, which included 2 wars. The War on Earth, the Great War, and the Shadow War.
This conflict between the Shadows and the Vorlons, trying to bring about a greater conflict that would weed out the lesser races and turn up another ratchet, the evolution of the galaxy. That was having an effect on Earth. So, okay, before you could deal with Earth, the bigger issue had to be solved.
I knew that the Earth War would have to be resolved through conflict and through big action pieces and set pieces. The Shadow War to me was different in that it really was at its core a war over ideologies, and it could not be ended in a big conflagration because between them they could wipe out everybody on every planet. We had to appeal to them on their own level.
We know who we are now. We can find our own way between order and chaos. It's over because we've decided it's over. Now get the hell out of our galaxy!
So the fans thought that was an odd way of doing it, but to me it was the more satisfying of the two emotionally. Knowing also behind the scenes that what was coming up in the Earth War would give them all the action they could possibly want.
Decided to resign as head of security, effective immediately.
It was kind of cool going over to the dark side. I like that because, my character was like always towing the company line and then, getting in there with Bester and the whole mind twisting thing and Mars and, there's a lot of cool stuff going on.
The one fun scene I know Jerry talks about is the time that we have a very heated confrontation in the Zocalo, and he turns and he just cracks me on the jaw and knocks me to the floor.
I said let her go!
And then we're mortal enemies.
Bruce is still pissed off that we didn't have another season because I decked him, and still to this day he's like, oh, man, I never got a chance to hit you back, knock you out. He's at a one shot, I'd take you down.
Start packing. We'll leave in a few days.
Where are we going?
Mars.
Season 4 is probably one of the most exciting seasons for me, simply because the Doctor got to get out of the med lab, and now I got to play like secret agent guy, a part of all of that espionage and underground and number one and all of that stuff.
Why the hell should I believe anything you have to What do you know about hell? Would you like me to show it to you?
Lita was discovering her power in front of you. A lot of stuff wasn't planned. A lot of stuff came out of necessity. She would find a power and go, oh, that felt good.
We're taking back Proxima 3. We're taking back Mars. Then, we're gonna take back our home.
The last part of the season is really that conflict with Earth and bringing it back home again. They take down President Clark. It's about where is the morality of following orders. If you are given an order that you feel is not appropriate, as Sheridan says to the other captains, at some point you have to draw a line and not do those things. So what ultimately triumphs is not just the power of guns, but the moral authority of someone who says you're doing something wrong, you have to stop it.
It's not the role of the military to make policy.
Our mandate is to defend Earth against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Now, Clark has become that enemy.
It's often the person who says the most damaging things who's being the most patriotic.
Anyone special waiting for you back home?
No, not anymore. You?
Someone. She doesn't know it yet.
The Marcus Cole character, that goes back to the unrequited love thing. And he was madly in love with her to the point where, yes, he gave up his life for her.
He thought it was more important for her to be in the world than himself at the end. So he gave his life in order that she might live. And the only time he ever said it was his last words to an Ivanova who can't even hear him. I love you. And then passes his entire life force into her.
It was a very hard thing to kill off that character, and had I known in year 4 that Claudia would not return in year 5, I might have rethought that decision and kept him around.
Welcome home, John. Welcome home.
Season 4 was where we were hit the time where the show was the most pulled together, the most mature. It was quite exciting because everyone was contributing their utmost.
All the seeds we've planted before about the Earth situation and President Clark and Night Watch comes into the foreground here. The Shadow War is resolved. It is the high point, dramatically in many respects, of our series. For me, this was the season where it all had to come together. All the parts and pieces come home to roost.
Christopher Franke we knew from Tangerine Dream. And the question became whether or not Christopher could do the kind of music that particularly Joe wanted, which was big and full.
I wanted Babylon 5 to have a sense of scope and of scale. And his music is emblematic of that. It is unabashedly dramatic, unabashedly operatic. And it elevates the scenes that it appears in.
The primary function of music scores and movies is to enhance the emotional level of acting. They should rather feel the music than hear the music.
There's a lot of stuff that Chris was able to go into orchestrally that began to sound like sound effects. No! That really gave a whole different texture to the audio support of the show.
He is not averse to using not just symphonic score, but found music, noises, metal hitting metal.
For me, science fiction shows are much more interesting because typically I like to innovate when I write music. So that's really my home, to do a cross between sound effects, unusual instruments, and the classic orchestra.
Christopher gives you an incredibly rich music score to support anything.
In Babylon 5, you have a fantastic setting, you have amazing action, innovative designs, but in the end it's about people, it's about the choices, it's about the consequences of the choices, and that factor really helps a composer finding the rightness factor. Is that melody really working, or the just wallpaper?
Chris decided to take the music and turn each scene into opera, to work with the scene, and to push the dramatic elements of that even further.
The chemistry between Joe and John Copeland and Christopher was always there.
Chris is good at what he does. Get people you trust, hire them, let them go.
Joe and John gave me creative freedom from the get-go.
Very often I will let Christopher come up with his own motif for that, because often he's better at figuring out what that is than I am. Often I would say to him, you know, Chris, break my heart. Just go ahead and just break my heart. And he always was able to do that.
For each and every show, I have like a 2-hour creative meeting with the producers. We decide when music starts, when it stops, where it really has to play against a certain scene. So after the creative meeting, I'm going to my studio and I'm starting always with the melodic content. And then around the melodic content, I do all the ambient and transitions. Then I decide which tracks have to be produced electronically and which tracks have to be recorded acoustically. The acoustic tracks I will email to my scoring stage in Berlin.
And he directed the Berlin Symphony Orchestra from his studio in Hollywood Hills.
They come into the studio, pick up their scores, sit down at their chairs, turn on the TV set, and there's Chris.
I never conducted really the full orchestra at once. I always conducted like maximum 24 people, which is quite possible to do it that way.
Chris not only wrote the music, but orchestrated it, directed it, and mixed it all together and did whatever else that he needed to do to add to what the Berlin Symphony Orchestra did.
It may be the first time that a television series has had a full score for every single episode.
I've seen shows where music have been recycled, and some show it might even work. In Babylon 5, it definitely does not work.
There was very little in the way of canned stuff ever used in the course of the show.
In every Babylon 5 episode on average, we have 50% music. So the average is about 25 minutes of original music per show.
Christopher is an interesting person to work with in that he is completely flat affect. You say to him, Chris, I need this huge, monstrous score over here, just big, big, big. Yes, I will do this. You know. And walk away and come back with this incredible composition.
Maybe it's the German in Christopher, but if he tells you he's going to deliver on a certain date, he will deliver it on a certain date.
I love the deadlines. Without deadlines, I would be lost. When something really melts together and picture and sound becomes like one unity, then I know I'm done.
Chris is one of these indomitably cheerful, nothing is a problem kind of people.
This is another indication of the kind of guy that Christopher is. He is quite remarkable.
Chris, like many artists, does what he enjoys doing, and he will go to the wall if he enjoys it a lot. The sheer volume of soundtracks that came out afterward is some testament to the fact that he really did go to the wall for this show.
Accessing file. Subject, alien races. Given its mission of furthering relations between humans and aliens, it is no surprise that a significant portion of Babylon 5's population at any one time is comprised of alien races. In addition to the Narn, Vorlons, Minbari, and Centauri, countless other alien races can be seen in the station's corridors and common areas. Several smaller races have joined together, forming the League of Non-Aligned Worlds, which serves along with the 5 major races on the Babylon 5 Advisory Council. End file. Accessing file. Subject, Babylon 1 through 4. The Babylon project has been fraught with disasters since its inception. Babylon Stations 1, 2, and 3 fell prey to acts of sabotage during their construction. Station Babylon 4 disappeared 24 hours after becoming operational. 4 years later, Babylon 4 briefly reappeared, emerging from what survivors claim to be some form of time warp. Transports were able to evacuate the remaining personnel, but little more was learned before the station disappeared once more into a temporal vortex. Its current whereabouts are unknown. End file. Accessing file. Subject, Battle of the Line. The Battle of the Line represented the bloodiest conflict during the Earth-Minbari War. Earth forces launched a massive offensive against the advancing Minbari fleet, but met with disastrous results. On the verge of complete victory, the Minbari suddenly surrendered, thus ending the war. To date, the Minbari Federation has given no explanation for this action. End file. Accessing file. Subject, Epsilon 3. Babylon 5 orbits Epsilon 3, a barren planet long thought to be uninhabited. A recent seismic survey mission from the station, however, activated a series of planetary defenses. Commander Sinclair then discovered a vast subterranean complex and a lone caretaker who watches over the remains of an ancient civilization. The caretaker is cybernetically linked to the planet's systems and defenses until the day arrives when a sufficiently advanced race will be permitted to take possession of Epsilon 3 and its secrets. End file. Accessing file. Subject, Grey Council. The Grey Council serves as the ruling body of the Minbari Federation. Originally created a millennium ago by the Minbari leader Valen, the Grey Council is comprised of 9 members with 3 representatives each from the warrior, religious, and worker castes. In their secret chamber aboard a Minbari warship, the Grey Council debates and makes decisions that affect the entire Minbari race and possibly the rest of the universe. End file. Accessing file. Subject, Home Guard. The Home Guard is a terrorist organization whose violent hatred of non-humans goes against Babylon 5's mission of peace and tolerance. By attacking alien delegates aboard the station, the Home Guard hoped to fuel their anti-alien movement. A plot to assassinate several of Babylon 5's prominent ambassadors was foiled by Commander Sinclair. Unconfirmed sources have turned up a possible link between the Home Guard and the assassination of Earth President Luis Santiago during his Goodwill tour. End file. Accessing file. Subject, Mutai. Steeped in tradition and honor, the Mutai is a fierce sporting event that pits fighters against each other in hand-to-hand combat. Potential fighters for the Mutai train under the watchful eye of the Mutado. Amateurs may challenge the reigning Mutai champion to combat, and once a challenge is accepted, neither participant can withdraw without sacrificing honor. Due to the risk of serious injury or death, humans are typically forbidden to participate in the Mutai. Earth boxer Walker Smith was the first human to successfully challenge a Mutai champion. End file. Accessing file. Subject, Psi-Corps. The Psi-Corps is a government-sanctioned organization that locates and trains telepaths for use in commercial and military endeavors. Once a telepath is detected among the general population, they must either join the Corps or take powerful drugs to suppress their natural abilities. The psionic police, known as the Psi-Cops, are a specially trained group of high-level telepaths who monitor the activities of all other telepaths in and out of the Corps. End file. Accessing file. Subject: Shadows. Little information exists about the ancient race known as the Shadows. This warlike species thrives on chaos and almost conquered known space a millennium ago before being defeated and driven back to their homeworld. Shadow vessels are armed with an awesome array of firepower and employ a form of stealth technology that hides them from their intended prey until just before the moment of attack. The apparent reappearance of the Shadows and their human envoy, Mr. Morden, is cause for alarm among all civilized species. End file. Accessing file. Subject: Soul Hunters. Soul Hunters are a race of humanoids who gather the spirits of dying aliens, capturing their life force at the moment of death. Soul Hunters use a collecting device that snares the living essence, encasing it in an orb known as a soul stone. Soul Hunters typically travel alone, always keeping their soul collection nearby. The arrival of a Soul Hunter is always a source of dread and a forewarning of death. While most races consider the actions of the Soul Hunters to be sacrilegious, the Soul Hunters claim they provide a necessary function, preserving the spirits of the universe's greatest beings. End file. Accessing file. Subject: Dropha. Dropha is a supposedly extinct disease that recently re-emerged to infect the Markhab race. The Markhab consider the disease to be a punishment from the gods for a lack of morality. While most species are immune to Dropha, the plague is highly contagious to the Markhab and 100% lethal within 24 hours of infection. Dr. Franklin created a vaccine, but he was too late as the disease effectively wiped out the entire Markhab race. Accessing file. Subject: Ground Pounders. Ground Pounders is the slang name given to the Earth Force's mobile infantry. The front line in any military assault, the Ground Pounders, or GROPOs for short, are a tough-as-nails group who are prepared to fight on a moment's notice. The Ground Pounders live life on the edge because they know that each mission they go on could very well be their last. End file. Accessing file. Subject: Interstellar Network News. Broadcasting from their headquarters in Geneva, Switzerland, the Interstellar Network News is one of the main sources of information for Earth, its colonies, and Babylon 5. ISN anchorwoman Cynthia Torkman and the show 36 Hours recently filmed an exposé on Babylon 5, in the process filming an attack between Narn and Centauri forces. End file. Accessing file. Subject: Morago. The Morago is a duel fought by members of Centauri's Coral Predo in order to uphold their family's honor. Once a challenge for the Morago is accepted, the combatants square off in a battle to the death using fighting swords known as kutare. Tradition states that the winner of the Morago must care for the loser's family, making them part of his own. End file. Accessing file. Subject: Narn Centauri War. In response to the Centauri's increased aggression, the Narn declared war on them in 2259. The conflict, however, did not go well for the Narn as their forces were repeatedly defeated by the technologically superior Centauri. A desperate attack by the Narn on the Centauri supply world of Gorash 7 met with utter defeat at the hands of Londo's allies, the Shadows. Following a devastating planetary bombardment of their homeworld, the Narn government had no alternative but to give their unconditional surrender. End file. Accessing file. Subject: Night Watch. The Night Watch is a special organization created by the Ministry of Peace in order to further goodwill and peace among humans. Recruits of the Night Watch receive 50 credits per week and wear an identifying armband. Night Watch members are asked to keep an eye open for individuals who appear dissatisfied with the Earth Alliance government and report their activities to the proper authorities. End file. Accessing file. Subject: Project Lazarus. Project Lazarus involved implanting computer chips into humans to control their actions. The experiments proved unsuccessful, however, and the project was officially abandoned. Project Lazarus secretly continued as a black op, where near-death humans conditioned by deep psychor brain scans, were able to handle the cyborg implants. Former Free Mars radical Abel Horn was programmed by Project Lazarus and sent to Babylon 5, where he assassinated a prominent businessman before he was killed by station security. End file. Accessing file. Subject: Stribe. The Stribe are aliens who travel through space, abducting specimens of various races. The captives are then subjected to painful experiments and torture. In addition, the Stribe have their victims fight one another in an effort to determine who is the strongest. Bearing strong resemblance to the gray aliens who were reported to have abducted humans in Earth's past, the Stribe are an emotionless race, willing to kill their captives rather than set them free. End file. Accessing file. Subject: Technomage. Technomages are powerful beings who use advanced science and technology to create the illusion of magic. The presence of more than one technomage is typically a bad omen. A large number of technomages recently gathered on Babylon 5. Their leader, Elric, informed Captain Sheridan of a coming darkness in the universe and the technomage's intention to travel beyond the Rim, never to return. Accessing file. Subject: White Star. The White Star is a new class of attack ship designed to aid in the war against the Shadows. Combining Minbari and Vorlon technology, the White Star uses a magnetic and gravitational drive system, making it both fast and maneuverable. Unlike other ships of its size, the White Star is able to open its own jump point into hyperspace. Extremely well armed and sporting adaptive defenses that learn from each encounter, the White Star can battle and defeat ships much larger than itself. End file. Accessing file. Subject: Battle for Babylon 5. Following President Clark's declaration of martial law, a fleet of Earth Force ships was sent to illegally seize control of Babylon 5. Rather than surrender, Captain Sheridan and the crew of the station vowed to stand and fight. Aided by the destroyers Alexander and Churchill, Babylon 5 engaged the invading Earth Force vessels in a bloody conflict. Although Babylon 5 survived the initial onslaught, the arrival of additional Earth Force ships made defeat look inevitable. The timely appearance of Delenn and the Minbari fleet, however, secured victory and independence for Babylon 5. End file. Accessing file. Subject: Thunderbolt. The Thunderbolt-class Star Fury is an advanced two-seat fighter that utilizes a separate pilot and navigator. Unlike previous Star Fury ships, the Thunderbolt possesses extendable wings that allow it to operate inside an atmosphere as well as in the vacuum of space. The Thunderbolt is equipped with 4 unidirectional plasma pulse cannons and is capable of carrying missiles or other armaments, making it a formidable addition to Earth Force's arsenal. End file. Accessing file. Subject: Gray 17. During a routine investigation, Security Chief Michael Garibaldi stumbled upon a previously hidden level in Babylon 5's Industrial Gray sector. While there, Garibaldi encountered a strange cult led by a preacher named Jeremiah, whose ambition was to achieve universal purity of body and spirit. In order to escape Gray 17, Garibaldi had to confront a Zarg, a highly dangerous creature considered by many to be the perfect predator. Garibaldi's eventual solution was both ingenious and effective. End file. Accessing file. Subject: Mind Wipe. Also known as Death of Personality, a mind wipe is a court-ordered punishment where the guilty party is stripped of their memories and sentenced to perform community service. Brother Edward, one of the monks living on Babylon 5, discovered that he had been mind-wiped and was really serial murderer Charles Dexter, the Black Rose Killer. In a brutal act of vengeance, Brother Edward was killed by relatives of his victims. End file. Accessing file. Subject: Voice of the Resistance. Following President Clark's rise to power and declaration of martial law, ISN became a propaganda tool of the corrupt government. In response to ISN's repeated negative stories about Babylon 5 and its crew, Captain Sheridan and Commander Ivanova devised a way to inform citizens about the real events surrounding the station and Clark's illegal actions. Transmitted from the war room aboard Babylon 5 and powered by the massive generators located beneath Epsilon 3, the voice of the Resistance broadcasts its message of truth back to Earth and throughout the known galaxy. End. Accessing file. Subject: Proxima 3. A colony world located in the Proxima Centauri star system, Proxima 3 seceded from the Earth Alliance only to be subjected to an armed blockade ordered by President Clark. The White Star Fleet, under the command of Captain Sheridan, engaged a half-dozen Omega-class destroyers in a deadly conflict to break the blockade. Although both sides sustained heavy casualties, Sheridan's forces emerged victorious and liberated Proxima 3 from Clark's control. Accessing file. Subject: Edgar's Industries. Specializing in medical research and chemical weapons, Edgar's Industries has grown to become one of the largest megacorporations on Earth. William Edgars, the company's founder and owner, is one of the richest and most powerful men in the galaxy. Edgar's extreme distrust of telepaths led him to develop a virus designed to enslave the telepath community, forcing them to receive weekly antidote injections. The Psi Corps learned of Edgar's plans, stole the virus and murdered him, making his death look like the work of the Mars Resistance. Accessing file. Subject: Mars Resistance. The Mars Resistance is an underground movement acting against President Clark and EarthGov. Captain Sheridan sent Dr. Franklin and Marcus Cole on an undercover mission to Mars to contact the Resistance and its leader, known as Number 1. In the planet's underground tunnels, Dr. Franklin and Marcus met with Number 1 and her lieutenants and successfully persuaded them to join in the fight to remove Clark from power. The Mars Resistance later helped in freeing Captain Sheridan from capture, smuggling telepaths aboard Earth Alliance ships, and attacking military targets on Mars in preparation for the assault on Earth. Accessing file. Subject: Battle for Earth. In a final effort to topple President Clark, Captain Sheridan rallied his forces to lead an all-out assault on Earth's planetary defenses. The battle that ensued was one of the bloodiest on record. By smuggling telepaths on board enemy destroyers, Sheridan was able to cripple the majority of the Earth Force fleet, saving countless lives and turning the tide of the battle. Knowing that defeat was inevitable, President Clark turned the planetary defenses inward, hoping to enact a scorched earth policy. Fortunately, Sheridan's battered forces received reinforcements and with their combined strength were able to stop Clark's plans at the last possible moment. Accessing file. Subject: Drakh. The Drakh are a race of aliens who served the Shadows during their war against the Vorlons. When Zahadum was destroyed, the Drakh went in search of a new homeworld and to exact revenge on those who had helped defeat their masters. The Drakh possess the unique ability to control others through the use of a creature known as a Keeper. Once attached, the Keeper is able to manipulate its host and can render itself invisible. The Keeper can be put to sleep temporarily through consumption of alcohol, but if only part is removed, the remainder can grow back and reassert control. Complete removal of the Keeper means certain death for the host. End file. Accessing file. Subject: Book of Jakar. During the past several years on Babylon 5, Jakar had been chronicling his observations and philosophies into a book. The unfinished manuscript was published without Jakar's knowledge, becoming an instant bestseller. Idolized by his fellow Narn as a spiritual leader, Jakar reluctantly agreed to lecture to the pilgrims who traveled to hear his words. With the crowds growing out of hand, however, Jakar knew he could no longer remain on Babylon 5. Since returning home would lead to his message being undermined, Jakar chose rather to travel the universe with Leda Alexander in order to find a greater understanding for their races. End file. Accessing file. Subject: Fall of the Centauri Republic. When brutal raids upon the shipping lanes were discovered to be the work of Centauri forces, numerous races turned their rage toward the Centauri people. In an act of violence not sanctioned by President Sheridan or the Interstellar Alliance, the Drazi, Brukiri, and Narn laid siege to Centauri Prime, bombing the planet from orbit. The onslaught leveled several of the Centauri's major cities and killed hundreds of thousands of civilians. In order to keep the conflict from escalating further, Londo Mollari ordered the Centauri fleet to stand down. With Londo in place as emperor, the Centauri people began the long process of rebuilding their civilization. End file. Accessing file. Subject: Interstellar Alliance. The Interstellar Alliance is a newly formed coalition of races, including the more advanced civilizations, along with the dissolved League of Non-Aligned Worlds. Former Babylon 5 captain John Sheridan serves as the Alliance president, while the Rangers and White Star Fleet are key components in its defense. All races wishing to join the Alliance must strictly adhere to its Declaration of Principles. The main goal of the Interstellar Alliance is to foster peace, understanding, and prosperity throughout the known universe. End file. Accessing file. Subject: Day of the Dead. Day of the Dead is a sacred Brakiri festival held once approximately every 200 years. Lasting for just one night, the festival is intended to honor those who have gone beyond and offers a unique chance to communicate with the dead. Since Day of the Dead can only take place on Brakiri soil, the Brakiri living on Babylon 5 purchased a portion of the station for a 24-hour period. Those living in the Brakiri section reported encounters with dead friends and loved ones. The arrival of the dawn, however, signaled an end to the festival and everything returned to normal. End file.
On the next Babylon 5.
Do not interfere. Great Maker, no.
Their leader has fallen.
Captain Sheridan
is dead. Their enemies grow more powerful.
He has made a deal with these shadows.
So they must take one desperate gamble. That could be their last.
Hurry. They know we're here.
Take us in. Initiating getting the hell out of here maneuver.
On the next Babylon 5. On the next Babylon 5. Jakar's desperate mission leaves him at the mercy of his enemy.
Is a reward for his capture. Dead or alive?
Which pays the most?
Now, he must bargain for his life.
It will be torture for a very long time.
On the next
Does this please you?
Babylon 5. On the next Babylon 5.
They will destroy us all!
A galaxy on the verge of Armageddon has only one hope for survival.
We thought you were dead. I was. I'm better now.
We can end this
once and for all.
But now he's about to discover that the final solution has already begun.
What are you hiding from me?
Would you know my thoughts?
On the next Babylon 5. On the next Babylon 5.
Millions of people's lives are at stake.
As the Vorlons escalate their destruction,
Attacking any world, any base.
Sheridan must make a decision.
If the ambassador stays, billions more will die. So we're going to take out the Vorlons.
But will he survive his own trap?
John!
On the next
I did the best I could.
Babylon 5. On the next Babylon 5.
There's no turning back now.
In the final hours before the ultimate conflict.
They want Armageddon, then by God, let's give it to them.
Two sworn enemies must join forces.
Homeworld will stand or fall, depending on what we do here.
And Sheridan must sacrifice one of his own to save a race from destruction.
No matter how it ends up, we're gonna go down fighting.
On the next Babylon 5. On the next Babylon 5.
Morning, gentlemen. This is your wake-up call.
Sheridan faces his final showdown.
Take us into the fire.
And he's putting everything on the line.
Win or lose, we'll go down fighting.
It's the battle of the millennium.
Calling in all their other ships.
Here they come.
On the next Babylon 5. On the next Babylon 5.
The President wants Babylon 5 shut down.
The Shadow War may be over, but the battle for Earth
It's a trap. Break off.
has just begun.
They want to get even.
They've already launched Phase 1.
So what's left on Zaha Doom can't be allowed to fall into anyone's hands.
The galaxy is about to get a whole new reason to scream. Walter Koenig guest stars on the next Babylon 5.
On the next Interstellar Network News, an exclusive look inside Babylon 5. We'll take you aboard the Rebel headquarters in the aftermath of the Shadow War. Then he broke his allegiance to Earth Command. Now find out what the future holds for Captain Sheridan and his renegade crew.
Nothing will be able to stop us.
Plus, a former Babylon 5 official speaks out against his old boss.
He has like a god complex.
An in-depth report
On the next Babylon 5. On the next Babylon 5.
You will enter the dreaming.
Delenn is forced to relive the darkest moment of her past.
Moment of rage.
They deserve no mercy. It is a holy war now, Delenn.
But she is also about to uncover the secret of her true identity.
We are a world gone mad.
You would destroy the purity of our race.
On the next Babylon 5. On the next Babylon 5.
You deliberately gave aid and comfort to the enemy in front of 1 billion people.
An old friend becomes a new enemy.
Next one, I'll take your head off. Don't threaten me, Sheridan.
And life on Mars is about to get real ugly.
I've seen these before.
Real fast.
Get out!
On the next Babylon 5. On the next Babylon 5.
They are laying a foundation for another assault.
As the Mars resistance struggles to survive.
Clark's forces will keep closing in on you.
Unless something is done.
Sheridan and Delenn are about to discover.
Who are you?
What the shadows left behind.
All ships, attack formation. They're locking on.
The revenge of Zaha Doom.
Yes.
On the next Babylon 5. On the next Babylon 5. Garibaldi becomes a gun for hire.
Of course, it means going up against your own security team.
I don't have a problem with that at all.
But when Sheridan discovers his treacherous mission,
You've jeopardized this station, and you damn near got me killed.
the battle between old friends is about to explode.
You are playing a dangerous game, Captain.
On the next Babylon 5. On the next Babylon 5.
Delenn, fighting has broken out in the capital.
Civil war.
It started.
To save the Minbari from self-destruction,
The fire cannot be stopped.
a sacrifice must be made.
This ship cannot be allowed to reach home.
And Delenn's fate
Bring her to me.
will be sealed.
Victory will be ours.
On the next Babylon 5. On the next Babylon 5.
We are prepared to surrender.
Delenn risks her life
Will you follow me into fire?
in a daring attempt to save her people. Then
This madness has gone on long enough.
Sheridan declares war on Earth.
God help anybody who gets in our way.
Walter Koenig guest stars on the next Babylon 5. On the next Babylon 5.
Most of you have heard of the attacks against civilian targets by ships from Earth.
Well, we intend to stop them.
To save a rebel planet from annihilation, Sheridan is forced into a showdown
Clark will scramble everything he's got.
that could change the course of the war.
Open fire.
Anyone gets in between us and them won't live long enough to regret it.
No surrender, no retreat.
On the next Babylon 5. On the next Babylon 5.
Somebody's got to stop Sheridan's war against Earth.
As the battle rages on, Garibaldi is forced to choose.
So how do I prove I'm in all the way?
Give me Sheridan. We have to take him out of the picture.
And And the legacy of the Shadows is about to be reborn.
What am I?
Ephraim Zimbalist Jr. guest stars.
We're gonna change the world, Mr. Garibaldi.
On the next Babylon 5. On the next Babylon 5.
You got your dad, John. If you don't surrender, they're gonna kill him.
As Garibaldi pulled Sheridan into his trap,
This is much, much bigger than you suspect.
he discovers that he has helped to unleash the nightmare that could bring humanity to its knees.
Not that you had much choice.
Walter Koenig is back with a vengeance on the next Babylon 5. On the next Babylon 5.
Cooperation will be rewarded. Resistance will be punished.
They know there's only one way to control Sheridan.
Even you can be broken. No!
And that's why they must destroy his mind.
You cannot resist.
But once he belongs to them, will he turn against his own people?
You'd be surprised.
On the next Babylon 5. On the next Babylon 5.
President Clark knows you're heading to Mars. You're gonna lay a trap for this fleet of yours.
As the enemy launches an all-out offensive to destroy the rebel fleet.
Is that what I think it is?
Sheridan's only hope for escape is the man who set him up.
We can get him out, but we gotta get to him before they ship him Earthside.
First Tactical Squadron, go!
This is the night that will decide the fate of the rebellion on the next Babylon 5. On the next Babylon 5.
Target, Earth Beacon 11629er.
Here it comes!
The moment of truth has arrived.
Let's give him hell.
The final battle for the liberation of planet Earth is on.
Missiles impacting on all sides!
But can Sheridan stop his enemy's final solution for the human race?
Give me ramming speed.
On the next Babylon 5. On the next Babylon 5.
You led an insurrection against your own government.
Now that the war is over, what will become of Babylon 5 and her crew?
You will not leave this room alive.
You really think you've got it all covered, don't you?
The answer may surprise you.
You realize that you are quite mad?
Perhaps.
Walter Koenig guest stars on the next Babylon 5. On the next Babylon 5. From 1 million years into the future.
I wouldn't miss this for anything.
Take a look back through history and witness the events that will change mankind and the galaxy forever.
All those great secrets of our ancestors.
A glimpse of what is to come.
That which you do not know.
On the next Babylon 5.